to do for the budget is to input the income. The income is all the amount that we receive every month in terms of salary or allowance or any additional money that you are receiving every month. It's important to take into consideration that it needs to be net income, so after taxes, because we need to make the budget based on the net money that we have every month. In case you have a fixed salary, this is quite easy because you need to input a fixed amount every month. But in case you have a variable salary, then I would suggest you to take the lowest amount that you have received the latest 3 or 4 months, more or less. So you check your historical income and you take the lowest amount that you have received, because your budget will be based on the income. So in case 1 month you receive more income, so additional salary than the one that you have budgeted, then it's perfect, because you will have additional money to save or spend in the non-essential expenses that we will explain later on. But in case you are received the lowest amount, you are covered, you have the cost covered with your income. Okay. So on my side, it's quite easy. I'm receiving $2,800 per month, so I will put it here. And then I want to start with the expenses and the savings, these kind of blocks that you see here. You will see in several budgets from other people that they start with the expenses, most probably, but I want to start with the savings and investment. And this is because we tend to forget about them. Usually what we do is to budget expenses, and whatever is remaining, we put it as savings and investments. Or sometimes we just not even put anything on savings and investment. And this is a big mistake, because we need to plan our financials in the future. We need to have some savings that they are going to be invested somewhere, wherever you want to, but we need to fill this part or this block as a part of our budget. And this is the first thing we need to do. You need to pay yourself, okay? So based on the some financial studies that I've been checking, everybody recommends to save at least 20% of your salary. If more, then better. If you cannot save 20%, it's okay, but the recommendation is 20%, right? So what I'm going to do is to take my monthly net income and multiply it by 20. And this is what every month I will be saving in my saving account. Okay, automatically I have a transaction that every month $560 is being allocated into my saving account, and I cannot touch it. This is long-term savings. Then I have two types of expenses. One is the essential expenses that you can see here, and then the non-essential expenses. The essential expenses basically are the amount of expenses that I need to pay yes or yes to live. If I don't pay these expenses, then I have a big issue, because I won't be able to live properly. The non-essential expenses, basically, it's everything related to leisure and have fun and spending the money in what you really love. But the essential is to be spent in the basics. So meaning house, utilities, groceries, and any other amount that you have in your list that we will cover later on with my example. Okay. Inside the essential expenses, I split it in two. One is the fixed amount, basically because this list that I will put here of expenses, I know which amount I'm spending every month because it's fixed. However, in the variable amount, the amount can be fluctuating depending on the month, and we will cover it in just a minute. So starting to put the list here. So for the essential expenses fixed amount, I have the rent, I have the medical insurance, and I have the telephone plus internet. But in your case, in case you have any loan, any mortgage, any, I don't know, car insurance or anything on top that you know that you need to pay it yes or yes, and that it's a fixed amount every month, you need to put it here. So on my side, on the rent, I spent $800, on the medical insurance 75, and in the telephone and internet 85. And you can see here the total that it's summing all these amounts here. That essential expense with fixed amount, I will be paying every month $960. Now we move to the essential expenses variable amount. Just as a reminder, it means that I need to pay these expenses yes or yes, but the amount will be fluctuating every month. What I do here, and I recommend to do, is to take more or less the historical expenses for the last 3 or 4 months and to take the highest amount that you have been spending, so you are covered for any unplanned cost or expense. Okay, so on my side here we'll put the groceries, the utilities, so water, electricity, and transport, because I take the public transport. So on groceries, I spent 450 the maximum, 32 for water, and electricity 89. And then for transport, I spent last time $37. So this was the maximum that I've been spending for the latest 3 or 4 months. Okay. Then we will show later that in fact this can be different month by month, but we should be covered with $608. And then the non-essential expenses is the fun part. It's what we really like to spend our money, that it's not mandatory, but we like to do it for our fun and our wealth as well. So it will be, for instance, in my case, restaurants, because I like to go to have lunch outside, restaurants. Then I also like to travel. So what I do is to put a travel budget, but it's separate. So every month I'm putting some money on my travel budget or travel bucket. So whenever I need to do a travel, I take it from here and not from my savings. Then I also like to drink some coffee, and I like to go to cafeteria. So I put it here as a separate in the list, subscription. So these subscriptions are basically subscriptions for entertainment, like it will be Spotify, Netflix. But in case you have a subscriptions that for an application, a program that you are using for your work, so meaning for work purposes, I would suggest you to put it here, because subscriptions most of the times are a fixed amount. You know how much you are paying every month, and it will be an essential expense because you will be paying that subscriptions for work, so for getting your income. So that's an essential expense for you. On my case, it's Netflix, it's Spotify, so it's not essential, meaning that if I need to cut some cost, I can cut it from here. Then also beauty, so meaning nails, hair, something like this, the gym subscription, and as well I put here usually miscellaneous. And this is because I usually put $100 or something similar in the miscellaneous, because in case any month I have an unexpected payment to do or an unexpected cost, I take it from the miscellaneous, so I avoid taking it from my savings. I don't want to touch my savings at all. This is long-term savings and investments for me. So for any unexpected cost that it's not planned, it will be taken from the miscellaneous or from part of the non-essential expenses. Okay. Let's say that 1 month you don't have to pay anything on top of what you have planned, so this miscellaneous will be remaining. Then you can choose what to do with this miscellaneous amount. You can use it for anything that you love, like for in my site, going to restaurants, or you can save it as well and increase your saving percentage, which is a great option. So on my site, on same recommendation that for the variable amount. So what I've done is to take my historical expenses and check from the last 3 or 4 months what has been my highest expense for each of these items. So for restaurants on my site has been 250. For travel budget, I put here 150. For coffee, $30. For subscriptions, 35. Beauty, I spent $70. For gym, 35. And then I see here that in total I've been spending 2,698. So I have some remaining amount to put as miscellaneous. So 800. So you can see 2,818 versus 2,800, which is my income. So I need to cut somewhere from here. And what I don't want to cut is restaurants. I don't want to cut travel budget nor coffee. So I will cut from the beauty because it can be that 1 month I don't do my hair. I don't do my hair every month. So I will cut it from here. I have the 2,800 total, which is the same as the net income. This needs to be equal to have a good budget. Okay. Now that we have the budget, the important thing is to keep every month tracking your actuals. So what you actually spend. And to do that, what I do is to duplicate this part here. I put the month that I'm right now. And every end of the month, I check my bank account, I check my receipts, and I fill this column here with the actuals. So for the savings, as I mentioned before, I do an automatic bank transfer. So it will be $650 for sure. The rent, the medical insurance, and the telephone internet, it's a fixed amount. So I pay the same every month. So I put it here the same. For groceries, I would check my bank account, and I've seen that for this month I spent a little bit less, which is great. So for 125, perfect. We can save more money. But for the water, I spent a little bit more, $40. For the electricity, I spent 85, and for transport, 30. So you can see that we have spent a little bit below, so around $20 below our budget, which is perfect. This is great because then we have more money for us to spend on restaurants or in total budget because we have already paid for our living expenses that are totally mandatory, which are the savings and the essential expenses. Then checking the restaurants, I've seen that here I spent a little bit more this month, 320, because we had birthdays, parties, so I had to spend more money here. Then for travel budget, I put the same amount this month. For coffee, a little bit less, $20. For subscriptions, I pay 35, which is a fixed amount. For beauty, $60. For gym, 35, and then the 120 here. So you can see that the actuals have been a little bit higher here versus the budget, but this is because of the miscellaneous that I have not spent. So I should put here if I have not spent anything. So I've spent 2,720, okay? Meaning that I have $80, sorry. I have $80 to spend it next month or the remaining of the month in any of these items here, or to save it. On my side, what I would do is to save it. So I would put here $80 more. Okay, so I've saved more money this month. For the next month, I would do the same. Duplicate this tab here, put July, and keep updating the actuals of July. And this is how you need to do it. You need to be tracking every month by the end of the month all your expenses to see if you are spending more, if you are spending less, and if you're spending more, where you should be cutting. So I really encourage to you to take this budget, to plan your budget. As you can see, it's very simple, very easy. It's just to be tracking and taking a little bit of time to check your bank account and your receipts, your invoices, to see how is the exact amount, and to plan your financials and be acknowledged of your expenses.